Hello and welcome back to Tay Radio Marin. I am your host Javier Vicuña, and today I am joined by my co-host,
Levi Rivera.
And Santy Hernandez.
And on today's show, we're going to be talking about AI and seeing if it's doing too much or what are really our thoughts on AI. So I'm actually really excited to talk about this. Also, just to preface, so I'll be hosting this show today. I want to welcome again Levi, who is one of our fall interns here at Tay Radio Marin. She's been doing a great job, and really happy to have you here on our team. And Santy, of course, our classic co-host here. So we're both really excited to be able to do this show with you, Levi. So just actually right before I get into it, I wanted to ask an icebreaker question.
Okay.
So I wanted to start by asking you guys, have you guys what was the last time you guys used AI? And for what? Because I mean, I think we can all safely say like we've used ChatGPT at some point in our life, right? I think for me, ChatGPT has been really useful when it comes to grammar. 'Cause that's something that I've always struggled with. Just growing up and going to school and stuff is like grammar can get really hard, especially with English, dude. Like there's so many different rules to grammar in this language that I just kind of use it just to check my grammar. So that's an example of what I've used it for recently, is just checking my grammar. But yeah, how about you guys? Santy or Levi? Okay.
I think the last time I used AI was probably I think I was trying to figure out how to like word an email I was going to send to a teacher.
Oh, okay.
So it was kind of I think I was like, I put it into AI, like it was like Gemini. I was like, oh, it's like, can you make any suggestions to help make this sound more, like have more intention to it. And
What's Gemini? Is that the Microsoft AI?
It's the Google one.
Oh, the Google AI.
Yeah.
Oh, Google Gemini. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I used it to... I used it this morning because I'm having an issue with my leg, and I've gone to a doctor and they haven't given me anything specifically to say this is what's going on. So I was like, I'm feeling this pain here, and these are what I'm experiencing, and what could it be? I'm gonna give me a list of things, possibilities. Which was helpful and not helpful at the same time. Helpful because I feel like it took in consideration everything I was feeling, but not helpful because then you start like your brain starts saying, "Oh, I have that. Maybe I have that. Maybe I have that." In my hand.
Yeah.
So that's what I was referring to. Not so good.
Great. Well, yeah, those are some great examples. I think that actually really connects with what I want to start off by saying is that AI is it's being used in our lives like almost every day, especially in like the professional fields now. Like a lot of people are using AI again for writing emails or for getting just some pointers or guidance for certain things in their work environment. AI is also able to, create images now. There was that whole controversy recently with like everyone turning like their photos into the like Studio Ghibli type. You've heard of that.
Yeah.
So I remember hearing about that controversy, and I was like, did you guys ever get to use that? I didn't even really use it, but
Use what?
like so there was like a big trend on social media going on where people were using ChatGPT to turn their images into like a Studio Ghibli, like the animation studio, like the ones that did like My Neighbor Totoro and Princess Mononoke. Never watched any of these? Spirited Away. Oh my God, Santy. Oh,
Maybe I
you got
have.
me there. You have to have had watch one of them, the Hayao Miyazaki film. That's the.
I don't think I have. What's it about?
Well, it's just like a Japanese animation studio. Then they make a lot of iconic.
I have never
movies.
really been into anime.
Oh, I see.
But they're more like they're like less traditional anime. They're like more,
they don't like draw.
more like almost a Disney style.
Oh, okay.
It's very
Is
classical.
it where they were like in little boxes of like toys? Is that the trend that you were talking about?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Is that
That was
different?
part. No, it's still ChatGPT. That was another trend that I saw. Was like it can turn like a photo of you and make it seem like you're like a figurine.
That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I
that
thought
one?
you were talking about.
Yeah, no, it's
That's
similar
separate.
though. It's separate though. But people were saying, well, especially with ChatGPT and the Studio Ghibli thing, is like, oh, you're stealing like an art style. You're stealing a person's way of art. And Hayao Miyazaki, who is the creator of Studio Ghibli and all these great films, he went and said like a couple of years back that he never wanted his art to be used for any kind of machine learning or anything like that. Like he always wanted his art to be just like through his studio. Like he doesn't want other people mimicking his art, but now they were doing that exact thing that he said not to do. So with that said, do you guys think that AI is currently right now and where we're living in with all the advances that are going on with AI, do you think it's doing more harm or good in our lives? Like, do you think it's actually making people lazier or making people more creative?
I think of it like as in, there's people that like created AI, but then it's like, how is that going to be? When I think of AI and how harmful it could be, I think about the future generations that are upcoming. So it's like, are they going to flourish from AI, or are they going to just be belittled and become like a generation that is reliant on technology and AI? So I think it really just depends on what kind of, how it's been using and how the people, how adults are handling it right now.
Yeah.
How it will be passed down. I feel like there's no way of escaping AI, and we're not going to go back from it. But I think people can also over-exaggerate it sometimes. Like, I was having a conversation with a friend where they were mentioning, like, oh, people from, like, like the Industrial Revolution probably thought that with so many factories and machinery, like, the world was going to be destroyed and stuff. And it didn't. It just got revolutionized, maybe with some harm here and there, obviously, but the world didn't end. And I feel like a lot of people think that the world will end because of AI, but I think it's just a way in which the world is like evolutionizing in a way.
No.
So it really is like yin yang. It can depend on who's using it and for why.
Of it, yeah. Great. Santy?
You asked if it was making people lazier. I think it can build the it can definitely make a person not work as hard as before. I think before, when you're drafting an email or when you're drafting any form of writing, you're putting a lot more thought into it, and in using specifically, for example, ChatGPT, you'll just put in very simple sentence. I want an email that talks about XYZ. Enter, and it gives you a structured email, and that can take away from the authenticity and the thought process that goes behind it. So I can see why it can be considered people getting more lazy. At the same time, it has a lot of cons because, for example, one of the biggest things that I struggle with is grammar and spelling. I have a really hard time with that, and having a tool that can help kind of structure or arrange things the way they should be can be very helpful. So there's always two sides to everything. Yeah,
I really agree with what both of you guys are saying about really the kind of I really like what you said, Levi, about yin and yang. And there is a balance to all of this AI stuff. I think what we can all agree on is that we're still kind of in an uncertain phase where we're not sure how the future is going to look, but we do know that the future is leaning more towards AI. And you mentioned earlier, you were talking about how kids how are they going to be benefiting from AI or using AI? Well, I've read articles already that in China specifically, they are already teaching kids how to use AI at a very young age. And they're teaching them how to use it in an educational sense, right? So I think that's something that we can probably start seeing implemented. It's very similar to when we're first introduced as kids to a computer. Right? And like when I was a kid, I remember like using like the old MacBook. I don't know if you guys remember those, but when I was in elementary school, we had like these old MacBooks that had like different like see-through colors, transparent colors. They were really big. Do you remember those, Santy? Or am I that old now? I guess I'm that old now. Okay. But that was like one of my first. Do you guys remember Kid Pics? Dang, I am that old. Okay. Well,
no, but I feel like every elementary school does use computers because I remember being introduced to computers in elementary school.
I just don't think I remember the brands very well.
Yeah, but we definitely used computers.
Yeah, because that was like my introduction. I think that's going to be very similar to how we're going to start introducing computers, but also the AI tools that are available, right? So kind of going off of what you were saying, Santy, about whether it's making people lazier or not, I think for me, personally, AI has been very useful for coming up with ideas or coming up with in a creative sense. So as in, like, let's say some people, for example, want to create like a movie. They want to create like a short film. Okay, there's AI tools out there now that you can describe, hey, I want a shot at night of someone driving down the street with like darker, like colorful lights, and you can be very technical and describe exactly what you want, and it can create an AI generated photo of this idea, of the shot that you have in mind, and then you can look at it and be like, okay, now it's like coming into. So it's much easier for people to kind of plan out their shoots or plan out their ideas through AI in that way.
Yeah.
Or also if you're just coming up with like a poster idea for something, or you just want to creatively see what you're seeing in your head and just have like a quick reference, I think that can be very useful. But I understand that a lot of people don't like using it that way because they think it kills some of the creative process to it. But it's like, for me, it's been helpful because I can't draw very well. Like I can sketch something out and be like, okay, I want it to look like this, but I can't like put it into like a program. I can't go on Illustrator or Photoshop and make it myself. I just don't have those skills, but I have the camera skills. So it helps me out in those kinds of instances. Santy, I don't know if you've used it in that way as well, as a creative tool.
As a creative tool, that's a great question. Let's see. I've only used it, for example, if we're I'm trying to think. Let's see. Okay, this is the way I've used it when it comes to video.
Yeah.
We needed to create a script, and but this was more for like promotional. It was a promotional project.
Yeah.
And we just kind of went line by line, but I've never actually had the experience to have a script of what something it looks like. So we put it on ChatGPT and said, hey, can you format this to a script? And it gave us the format of what a script looks like. That would be one way we've used it. Another way, definitely for title names. Those are things like, how do I title this project on this? That I've used. I've heard about what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And even in the Docklands that we went to go see, the doc pitch, we've seen how others have used it to
kind of pitch an idea. But see, speaking of Docklands,
that was an
interesting one. So that's where I'm saying, like, AI, I only like using it as a tool. I would never just use AI as my sole thing to show to someone.
Yeah.
So, for example, there was a documentary that Santy and I saw a couple weeks ago where someone was doing a pitch for a documentary about the first immigrant in America. And we were like, wow, that's a really interesting idea. We watched it, and I mean, if the people that were creating that film are hearing this, I mean, no disrespect, but it was something that I think was a little much. Was they used a lot of AI generated videos to kind of create the ideas, and it just made the documentary feel so like soulless.
Well, it was a pitch.
It was a pitch. And I get that, but I think there could have been more effort put in. Like, it just feels like once you start seeing like 80% of it is just AI generated videos to tell this story, it makes the story way less stronger because you can tell it's AI.
It does.
Right?
I
think there's how do I call it? A mixed to it, because for those who don't know what we went to go see, it was a doc pitch. So the California Film Institution, they were giving out in partnership with I don't know the logistics, but they were giving a huge grant amount to filmmakers with an idea, whether they had started that already or it was in the process. So that specific documentary, it was about the first immigrant that got the label deported.
Oh, yeah. I see.
So their idea, and I think that's why they got chosen to be the top 5 finalists, was because their idea
it's a strong story.
Is great.
Yeah.
It's a different perspective. Now they have to pitch it, and the reason why a lot of these artists have to pitch it, and filmmakers, is because they actually don't have the funding to hire actors, to hire all this. So the AI part came in to say, this is our idea. We don't have funding for it yet, but this is what it could look like. So their pitch was, I think all of it was AI. It was
pretty much most of
there's I think I don't know how that was created. Maybe it was saying, this is our story, this is our script, creative visual that kind of represents this idea. So it was pitched to us, and I still like the idea to this day. I think what I had a hard time with was seeing the AI part.
Yeah.
But stepping back into it, I also understand that it was a doc pitch.
Yeah.
Their intention was to show what they were visually seeing. I don't think they had any footage necessarily of what was going on. But I've heard many people use it that way in the film industry. And there's been a lot of controversy.
Yeah. No, you're good.
With it. For example, Netflix took out a documentary about a death that happened, and that included a lot of AI, and they got in trouble for it because they were looking for photos. They were putting photos in the documentary about the person and the incident, and they were fabricating, or I think actually it was the voice. I think it was the voice, one or the other. So it's interesting how it's been being used in the film industry.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, and so thank you for sharing.
And in creativity with film, we've definitely used it when we're editing. It has saved us a lot of time. Because you can, for example, in the podcast, if we record this camera by camera, we had to go manually cut when you're talking, and then when he's talking, we would put them together, and that takes it's a really long consuming process. But with AI and the new updates that have been releasing, whether it's with DaVinci or Premiere, you have the opportunity to say, hey, I have 3 speakers, cut it up to each time, and it cuts it up and makes it into a whole podcast. So that we've used it for that, and removing stuff in the background and stuff. So that's what we've used it for.
And so thank you for that, Santy. Levi, right now at school, what have you been using as an AI tool? What are teachers doing to combat kind of these AI things? Because I know that ChatGPT has been a big issue in schools right now. And how are your teachers kind of tackling that issue?
Well, I don't like to use it personally a lot. The last instance I used it was a couple months ago. Yeah. Just because I don't like how much people, I don't know, I just don't really like it. But I know a lot of kids that do use it on a daily basis, and they use it not for finals because it's kind of difficult, maybe for projects or making scripts for different videos, or maybe even slideshow ideas. I think I've heard, and I think it all just depends on what subject it is and the difficulty of it. Math especially is really easy to use AI on. You just copy and paste a problem or whatever. But teachers combating it can be really difficult. For my English class, my teacher uses a detector to check if my writing is AI or any other students. I'm just using myself as an example. But it's kind of funny because she's using AI to detect AI. So it's it can detect itself in a way, but then you never really know if it's AI.
Because what's the are you guys using Canvas?
Yeah.
So does Canvas have an AI?
I think it's
or is it a tool?
It's attached to you can attach it to an assignment. Yeah.
And have you seen students get in trouble for it?
I haven't, but I've heard stories of it, and from last year, or actually this happened 2 days ago. I had to make a screenplay for a film. Yeah. I'm deciding to make with a team, and from one of my classes. And I searched up one word. I was looking up words I could use, and I wanted it to sound eloquent. I wanted it to sound good. Yeah. So I was like, what are some words? I wanted a big word, so I was using Google to search it up, and I didn't know about AI overview. So when the text box would show up, I used to just think it was regular. It was just part of Google. But then they gave me a phrase I could use, and I was like, oh my god, you know what? That sounds really good. So I'm gonna put it in my screenplay. Yeah. And when I did, we did peer reviews of screenplays, and then my teacher actually called me over, and he was really upset, and he was know that you're not writing this because you use this word. This isn't your writing, and I know it's not. And it was like the most like I was like, what? Like, what are you saying right now? And then he was really upset with me, and I was like, this is my writing. I know it's my writing, and then he was like, okay, like explain what this word is. And I was like, y'all, like, cause I didn't know what it was because it was a long word, and then he was like, okay, let's talk in front. So like he literally was like talking to me in front of everybody, and everyone could hear. It was so. But then he called my English teacher over. Okay. And he was like, can you read this? Tell me if it's her writing. And after like a couple of like sentences of dialogue, like my English teacher was like, yeah, that is her writing. And I was kind of like, yeah. But it's just like sometimes you don't even know when you're using AI. So I couldn't really blame him because honestly, I didn't know the word myself. So it's like, it could really just, it could be, you don't even know,
Yeah, so it creates these really weird, or not weird, but just these kind of like interesting situations where it's like, okay, that now it starts becoming a debate of, because I think I've gotten pretty good now too at like, especially when I'm sending emails and stuff to other people, like I can like look at an email and be like, oh, ChatGPT wrote this email. Yeah. Like I can take a look at it and I'm like, okay, yeah.
I was going to say that the more people are using it, the more it's easier to type. You don't need to be, have like a software to do it for you. Yeah. You can kind of just feel the vibe. I've used it a lot to write emails, but I know what I'm saying. That I put on there. Sorry guys, my phone is blowing up. I put on there like, this is can you just fix the grammar? Because I'm really bad at that. Yeah. And I've struggled that because I'm English is my third language that I've learned. Grammar and spelling has always been the hardest part for me. So being able to have that has really helped to kind of like, especially when you're sending it to big important people like vendors or stuff like that. It's I really like it. At the same time, and because we have family businesses, there are times where you want to say something, and as someone who's providing the service, sometimes you read it and it comes off strong to a client. Yeah. So that's how I would use it more. Not really like write this email for me from scratch. Yeah. It's more of like, I wrote this. Does this sound too harsh? Yeah. And if it does, what are things? What can I make it better to make it sound better? But I like to, if I don't use it quite often, but when I do, I literally will tear it apart. I'll take the concept, okay, that's a way to write it. I'll write it on my own, because I've seen people just use ChatGPT and I read their emails and I'm like, I know that's ChatGPT. I can pick it up right away. So I try not to use it as much, more of in emergency cases.
So like you were saying, I think that right now we're seeing a lot of people kind of actually lose their writing voice because they're getting so comfortable with using ChatGPT. So it's really great, Levi, that you said that you're kind of not trying to use ChatGPT for everything, because you start kind of losing your character, right? Because in writing, you can get everyone's character can be heard. Like you were saying too, like Santy, like you could read something and be like, okay, yeah, that was probably written by ChatGPT, not written by an actual person. Yeah. So that's why I try to avoid doing it for structuring emails, yes, but I always usually change up some of the things because it's like, this doesn't sound like a Javier email. This sounds like
it
a
sounds very robotic. And
exactly.
I think there are things that ChatGPT doesn't quite get, emotionally speaking sometimes. I think that it's good at the tone occasionally, because as humans, like, we can reply to something if we're upset about something. We have like, oh, this is how I felt. But it can come off so harsh, and it can miss the point. Yeah. And putting it on ChatGPT can give you the opportunity to kind of circle back and say, this is the main thing that you wanted to focus on. Yeah.
So that's great. So thank you guys for sharing. I did want to also ask you guys, do you think AI is going to be affecting jobs? I think we can already see it affecting jobs, not just in terms of like, okay, we can use it for emailing, but like AI replacing jobs, you know? So I can give an example real quick. I know that right now a lot of fast food places are replacing cashiers with like automated like drive-through programs now. So like you go through a drive-through and it's like not a human talking to you. It's like a robot, like an AI robot.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, what would you like to order today and stuff like that. Like people are really scared about that because, well, especially with fast food jobs, a lot of the people that are working at those jobs, it's because that's one of their only sources of income. And it sucks that they're taking away such an entry-level job, potentially making way for less jobs in that industry.
Yeah.
Man, that's a key
yeah.
that you said. Sorry, cutting you off.
Yeah, no.
The key word that you said is an entry level. There are a lot of college students, because they don't have a degree right away. That's their way of going to school. Whether it's I know you even went to Starbucks, right? To work there. It's kind of a way to start building your resume.
Just starting it at work.
Yeah, especially working. So they're taking that away. I'm not saying a college degree is everything, but if you don't have it and you don't have experience, on top of that, you don't have experience, it can be really hard to find a job. So,
yeah. What do you think, Levi?
I think there's certain jobs that could be affected by AI, but then again, there's like jobs that like there's just no way. Sometimes,
no way, which one?
Like which ones?
Like I don't know. Like I feel like a lot of forms of like nursing, a lot of medicine. It'd be kind of difficult for AI to take over that.
Well, I have a story about that.
Really?
Yeah. So I went to Kaiser recently, and just routine checkup and so many things, and they scheduled me for a billion things that I needed to do because I was so late. But the point is, in the waiting, I saw this flyer that says, "Hi, my name is Boom. I am a artificial intelligence that I'm being used to be able to diagnose better what you have." And I was curious about it, and I didn't. So I went into my first appointment, and they didn't have anything. So I said, "Okay, great." I went to my second appointment, and the lady was like, "Hey," and she puts down the little machine. She says, "Hey, I'm using this. This is gonna help me to record our conversation and give me a better understanding on how to what's going on."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, curiosity." So I felt the way it made me feel is that I myself could have just talked to ChatGPT and told them, "Hey, this is what I'm going to do." That's how I felt. I'm pretty sure that's not what they used it for. I hope not.
Well, it's interesting that you brought that up. Because,
but anyway.
Yeah, no. Because last year, I think, or maybe it was 2 years ago now, I did this video gig for this like big AI kind of like summit that they did in San Francisco. And I think it was about 2 years ago. I don't think it was last year because it was like AI was just starting to like pop off.
Yeah.
And a lot of the AI companies that were there were all very health focused.
I see.
So it's one of them was about helping out like elder people with like dementia and stuff like that, with like remembering their loved ones. So let's say someone passes away.
Yeah.
But if they somehow get the person's like voice, they can emulate that or like, duplicate that voice and have that voice talk with this person who's suffering from like dementia and they're able to like recover some of those memories back or help with that therapy there for them. So interesting stuff like that, like being able to talk with someone that you knew, even though it's like, a robot replicating it, but it still sounds like the person. There's also like there was another thing developing where they were using AI to be like nurses, like also like like what you were saying.
Yeah, that specific AI thingy that they were using at Kaiser. Oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to say their name, but anyway, it kind of made me think that this is what the nurses do, like take your blood pressure and like take so many things that a doctor doesn't necessarily do. Yeah. I feel like it could be. I know in a few years they're gonna find a way to
streamline it.
Yeah, either to take away some work that the nurses are already doing. There's also the robot thingy that Elon Musk is working on. I think it had a downfall, but AI has been taking over in a very the past 3-4 years. It has been really on a climax. Yeah, because the robots from Elon, they're doing chores. Well, in
Yeah,
theory,
they're
that's
able to, like, be
in
like-
theory, that's what he
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
is that they're able to like do the basic things, like having a human assistant, kind of a robot assistant. Well, technically,
Yeah. Yeah, that's scary to think about, like, so many experiences with AI. It's just, like, actually, like, on a fundamental level, like, yeah, sure, they can do all that, but they can't feel anything. So it's, like, their diagnosis is their attempt to help isn't ever going to be to the same amount or degree that a human will be able to experience that. You can explain how you feel to a person, and they'll know, like, maybe, oh, like, I've experienced that. Maybe it could be this, it could be that. I'm interested in that because I want to go into medicine, and when you think about it, it's like there's so many levels of like how people can communicate with each other on ways that AI can't, you know? And AI, like, computer is not going to know, has never gone through stomach flu, has never gone through a migraine. They're not going to know what that is. And sure, they can figure stuff out from the internet or from information that they got from other sources, but it's just in a way, like, they wouldn't be able to do that. And with robots, it could be streamlined. Like, you could find things that they could do. How are they going to find, like, a vein? How are they going to draw your blood?
Well, that's
you
the
know?
scary thing, right?
Like, you never know.
So one of the things right now that I keep hearing is that computer programmers are losing their jobs to AI.
Yeah.
But
oh my god, the Canva coding one.
well, you can talk about that.
Yeah, but continue, finish your-
Yeah, but to finish the context here, I think the big thing right now is that the coders are the ones that are actually helping with these AI algorithms.
Yeah.
So I don't know how like the coders are basically supporting a system that can
Yeah.
take away their job in the
Yeah.
future, right? Because there's like AI that can be a coder, be this person. So you know what I mean? So it starts getting super complicated. It's like all these algorithms can be created. Like you were saying, how is the AI gonna distinguish a vein? Well, there's gonna be like, I'm sure there's experts already that like coders that already know, that are working with healthcare professionals to give them all the data they need to start feeding it into the AI
You said
for them
the
to do
keyword.
something. Yeah.
You said the keyword and it's data. The reason why ChatGPT can give you very I want to say super precise, but generally it's very concrete facts or things. It's because of all the data that it takes in. So it takes from your experience, from so many people's experiences, and that's how it gives you the ultimate answer at the end. And going back to your programming, one of the things that I saw, I'm a graphic designer myself, so one of the competitors of Adobe Illustrator is Canva. And Canva, love the story of the creator of Canva, the founder of Canva.
Yeah.
But there is something that they that got big on social media, and it's that, let's say you want to have a website, a specific feature on your website, and you don't know how to code. Typically, you would have to go to a web designer, and because they know Java, they know all these coding, they know coding. And in Canva, I'm not sure if they've released it already, but it's in the works, where you can say, this is what I want, give me the code to that. And it'll give you the code, you just copy it and put it into the website to have that feature. So it takes away a big opportunity for those who have learned coding. And I read the comments of that video, and it was like, what about all the programmers who have been studying for years, spent thousands of dollars to learn this skill, and then AI came, and that's a huge thing. So there's just so many jobs. There's a book that my dad read in Spanish, and it's and you guys maybe can help me read or translate. Se llama Sálvanse el quien pueda.
Save who you can.
Or save yourself if you can.
Save yourself if you can.
And that book my dad shared with us, it talked about this revolution that was going to come. Oh. And I remember him talking to us about this, and he said that the revolution is that there's going to be a technology that's going to come in that's going to replace so many jobs. And
when was this book written? Recently?
A couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago. Okay.
And the book said no one is in any industry, no one is safe. And it talked about how to be smart with your finances. This is a financial book. I said being smart with your finance, that you can't rely on just your current job, because in any minute there's going to be something that comes in and takes over that job. And so if you don't have something, a plan B that's backing you up on your income, you could be one of those who can't save themselves. That's where the title of the book
This is also where a lot of the stuff is just like, that's the big narrative right now, is the AI takeover. Like they're just going to be able to take over anything. Because if you really think about it, it's like AI can really take any of these jobs. It can be a whole AI created podcast. It might not be good, but if you give it, let's say like, I don't know, 20, 30 years, there's going to be a point, maybe even less. I don't know. It is advancing pretty fast.
Think about it too with the COVID. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
You're okay. Actually, tell me about the COVID stuff.
Well, think about it. COVID came, right?
Yeah.
The people had the whole touching and everything. And then now you have people who just order online. The technology in general, you order online your groceries, and you just pick it up.
Oh, so you're saying how COVID kind of made people rely more on the internet to get like their groceries or to watch movies.
COVID was a big, like, I think the way technology was going, it was kind of like, this is kind of the speed we're going to learn. And then COVID hit, and it went, we have to learn how to implement technology into everything. And that jumped, I feel like, years, because there's so many jobs that went away. You know, Uber got even more popular. Food delivery systems got even more popular. There's so many things, even the tolls at the bridges. Like those are small things that happen over the years. But like, I don't know if you even remember when you used to go to the Golden Gate and you like have to stop and pay.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
But now it's like all of it is automated.
Automated, yeah.
Yeah, with just your car plates, and so there's so many things that have been. It's a revolution of technology.
Yeah, there's constant technological advancements, and I feel like, I mean, they're not gonna stop, and you know, there's nothing you can do about it. And then,
I think the only thing is to learn how to
and accept it. That it's the way. You can't deny it. That, you know.
It's learn how it's gonna affect you in your industry, and know how you can use it as a tool. I will say to not ignore AI, to get knowledgeable, because when in case you're in your workspace or in school and they incorporate AI, at some point that's going to happen. And if you're unfamiliar with it, it can be really hard for you to understand and adapt
the tools,
to it. But if you've kind of done your research and learn about it, when it comes in, you can actually prove to people who want to kick you out, like, hey, I'm better than AI. But anyway, any more questions?
Yeah, I actually wanted to kind of take things back and actually talk about another kind of subject related to AI, which is the rise of like deepfakes and AI generated like fake news. So Levi, I know you kind of talked a little bit about this. What are your thoughts on that kind of part of AI?
It's a really like disturbing part of AI.
Yeah.
There's so many weird people who do weird things with AI. I've seen like people like put like faces on like people like smoking or doing like explicit things.
Yeah. Just by using a picture.
Yeah, by a picture of their face, they can do anything. And you know, it's kind of like sad to see, because there's so many people out there who don't know or don't know it's fake or don't know anything, and it's like you can destroy someone's life with that. Ruin someone's reputation.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. I think with the advancements right now, you know, actually I had this conversation with a couple of friends about it a couple of days ago, about how AI has gotten to that point where I don't know if you've guys seen that there's like a lot of AI apps now where you can like generate your face to be a different face, or generate your face or generate like your whole body so you look like someone else, or something like that. Like that's becoming way more common now, and it's just, I think it's scary, because it's like what's stopping people from using someone else's photo and using them on those apps without their permission, right?
Like dating apps or like whatever,
for
like profile
catfishing.
pictures.
For catfishing and stuff like that. Yeah, it's super scary.
There's some crazy documentaries on Netflix about catfishing and about.
Yeah, I've watched that.
There's multiple ones, and it's a little scary.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Santy?
Well, I've been open about this, that before I used to be very like, I'll post whatever on social media until I learned a little bit more about the dark side of social media, which is like posting photos of yourself or posting photos of others, that it could be used in different ways. For example, I'll keep it PG, but there are very people who are crazy and what would I say? Search for young minor photos and stuff. And I saw this where they've done crazy things with minor photos.
Oh, that's bad.
And that really freaked me out. Yeah. And from then on, I said, I have a little brother.
Yeah.
So if you've noticed, I avoid posting his little face or his little anything anymore, because I my parents are different, and my dad's a big social media person, and so he likes to show my little brother and stuff. But personally, I said I'm not doing that, because just what I was reading and what I was understanding, it freaked me really bad.
Yeah, dude.
And I said, and I was like, no, until he's 18 or until is a bit older and he can have social media, and if he wants to be on me to post him, like I want to get his consent in order for me to do that.
Yeah.
And same with me. I'm like, I want to be more cautious about what I'm posting.
Yeah.
Right? Not just about my body or what am I using social media for. So that has been something that I have learned more about, and especially kids now, my mind with AI and social media with the kids. There are crazy people out there that will like gaming. A lot of kids find older people in gaming, and that's crazy to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of predators, I think.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That's a big issue right now too. Absolutely. Yeah. And going off of what you were saying, Santy, about being scared about like anyone can really use your photo or not really wanting to show. I've never put any of my photos through any of the AI like generation tools. I know like a lot of people do, and it's like, okay, that's their choice, but I don't like it because the AI companies, you don't know where those photos are going. Yeah. Right? That's why I'm like super big about like privacy as well. It's like, okay, if I'm gonna use this to put my photo on, are they just going to keep training the AI?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's another
a
thing.
Scary thing.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing too that you brought up. That's a very good point, is that a lot of the things that you're doing and you're using AI for, they're keeping all that data.
Yeah.
So they're keeping it, the way you interact with it. They're keeping all of that to make it even better.
Yeah.
So, yeah, any photos or stuff you upload it. I personally don't even use our names when I'm using it. If I, when I use it, I change the name and put as a random other person.
Yeah,
anyone in ChatGPT can be like, oh, who's Santy?
That's scary.
Yeah.
Because when I was using Gemini, I was trying to see like, oh, like, I think this was like months ago. I was like, kind of like, I forgot what I asked it, but it was like, I think I was searching up like resources for mental health websites to put in a slideshow, and they were like, oh, like here's some websites we found in Marin County. I was like,
you didn't even tell them
how
that
do you know where I live?
Yeah, that's weird.
I was like,
actually, that's really interesting because I did use ChatGPT for something similar.
Yeah.
Also looking for, I think, I forget what resources, but yeah, again, it's like, oh, here's some resources again in Marin County. The same thing happened to me, and I was like, wait a second, I didn't say Marin County.
Yeah.
I just said like resources, but it was like all local. I think like location services might be on your computer or something like that. Mm-hmm. So that's how it gets that data. Mm-hmm. But they didn't even ask me for permission on that. You know what I mean? So that stuff I do think is really creepy.
Yeah.
So another part to that, and we're kind of getting towards the end of the show here, but I did want to end kind of with saying that a big issue too is just the AI generated like voiceovers of like politicians or of like people or celebrities. Like that is I've seen that like all over social media being used right now. And there's some that are more like, okay, they're making a meme out of it.
Yeah.
Of like someone saying something silly or whatever. But then there's other ones where people, like older people, believe it.
Yeah.
And they hear and they're like, oh my God, did you see what this person said online?
I was going to say, I think that AI, and you guys can share your experience on the election of the recent election. Social media and AI were used a lot. Whether it I don't know, I won't say that each party did that, but the people themselves created a lot of that, and you kind of had to figure out if it was real or fake, or which was really interesting to see, and it can impact decision, not just our small little things, but big decisions like who's the next president.
Yeah, and I think this also plays into the part that AI, I think the most vulnerable people are older people and kids. Right?
Yeah.
Because older people can fall for it and just be like, okay, yeah, they said this, and that can affect, they're more vulnerable to that type of information. And little kids don't know how to distinguish yet what's real or fake. Yeah. We're kind of at that age where we're able to distinguish, okay, that's fake or that's real. And there's some people that just can't. And that's the other scary part. And actually is a way that I feel like a lot of AI, people who are using AI for bad are taking advantage of that, of those communities, of those vulnerable communities, right? Of those people that don't know that it's fake or real. Yeah. Did you have anything else to add, Levi, before we kind of wrap things up here?
No, well, I guess, people can be weird, and that's like a really big issue, like just thinking about like how like people can use it. But I think overall, the best thing to do is not to fear AI, but work with it. Don't work against it, I guess.
And I think also what we'll see over time is we'll see much more laws in place for AI. There's going to be a lot more regulation on it. Because I think we're still kind of in that area where it's like, oh, okay, what are the regulations on this, right? Like, I think I know that many of these AI, like these bigger AI companies, they actually have like a privacy policy and they ask for permission. But what about these like smaller AI companies, right? Like how are they going to be regulated? And what's going to be the lawsuit? Because I'm sure there's going to be lawsuits, or maybe there are already lawsuits of people making like terrible images with other people's faces on them. Like they're like, I didn't do that. You know what I mean?
And copyright protection of artists. You mentioned one of them.
Yeah, definitely.
There's so much. The big thing here that our government and in general that hasn't been set are regulations of how artificial intelligence is being used and how it's being set for the future. Also, keep in mind that the U.S. and all the other countries are on a race to be the powerful ones in artificial intelligence. So they're also like the country itself is fighting to get that title, to advance it, exactly. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But ultimately, you mentioned it, Levi, that AI will never take away our experiences because no one has the same experience. We can go through the same event or circumstances, but we don't think the same. We don't feel the same. And that will never be something that AI can replicate. However, it can be a tool if you know how to use it. So, to all the youth out there, be safe, be kind to one another, and be honest. Yes, AI can be used to help you do your homework and your tests, but at the end of the day, if you want to be a doctor, I really don't want a doctor to be a surgeon doing a surgery. Like we want someone who's genuinely learning and growing. So be honest.
I would not
with
want
yourself.
AI right now to do my surgery or anything like that.
So I would say be honest to yourself, not to necessarily to other people, but to yourself. And learn more about AI. Don't be too scared of it. There's always going to be a black and white to something, but learn from it. And at the end of the day, AI cannot replace who we are as individuals.
Totally. Well, with that said, thank you both for sharing about AI. I know we were, even in the back of my head right now, I'm like, oh my God, like it's a lot. It's a lot. But like I said, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic that we're going to have these regulations. We're going to have these kind of laws in place for AI. And we'll see. I mean, it's just kind of a waiting game and seeing how things go. And obviously, I think people should report if they see that people are using AI for bad. Just report it. You can always report that to the police or local authorities because that's important as well. Yeah. But with that said, that's been Tay Radio Marin. I've been your host Javier Vicuna. Again, joined here by Levi and Santy. We're really excited to be back and be able to make more episodes here on Tay. So we'll catch you guys next week for our next show. So thank you, everyone. Take care.